just a few weeks, voters here in Waukesha County and across the state will have the opportunity to cast their ballot in the April 1st spring election. There are some big races on the ticket: state Supreme Court, statewide referendum about the voter ID law. But we're going to start locally here. 3 judicial seats up for grabs in Waukesha County. And to talk more about that here, we have Waukesha County Circuit Court Judge Jennifer Dorow. She's going to weigh in on these races.
And Judge, before you jump in, we should note for our listeners that as a local government agency, we are not here to endorse any particular candidate, but judges are elected officials. They can be appointed by a governor, and if a judge's term is vacated between elections. You've run for state Supreme Court before. You know what it's like to navigate the balance of campaigning and the scrutiny of politics and those things. So feel free to express your own opinion on these races, even though Hillary and I will not.
All right, so here in Waukesha County, the 3 judicial races, we have Branch 1, Scott Wagner, who's running unopposed and replacing longtime retiring Judge Michael Bourne, who, as you may know, presided over the Slenderman case. Branch 4, Judge Bridget Schoenborn, challenged by David Moss. Schoenborn was appointed by Governor Evers to fill an opening, and this will be her first time running for the seat. And then Branch 6, current Assistant District Attorney Zach Wichow versus Fred Stramp. That is an open seat, which is replacing Judge Brad Schimmel, who decided not to run for re-election when he became a candidate for state Supreme Court. So, Judge Dorow, you and Judge Schoenborn are the only 2 women right now out of 12 serving on the bench. So what is your take on these 2 contested races?
So let me start with the Branch 4 race. I have officially endorsed Judge Schoenborn. That public announcement was made yesterday, although I have long been Team Bridget Schoenborn from the beginning and have been campaigning with her and for her. Look, Waukesha County is replacing potentially 3 seats. So anytime we have a new judge come into the system, those judges need to be trained and they need to shed their advocate attorney, because they're all coming from the land of being an advocate attorney. And you could be the smartest person out there, and it is still an adjustment. We have Judge Schoenborn, who's been doing the job exceptionally well. And I met her shortly after her appointment. And let me tell you, Waukesha County is a safer and better place because of her. She's tough, but fair. And she is so quick, not afraid to make a decision, which is what I love about her. She is a strong woman of faith. She's a mom to twin boys who are in college. And she spent almost 20 years in the prosecutor's office for the Eastern District of Wisconsin and doing some very complex criminal litigation, some civil litigation. We would be foolish as a community to let her go. And so I have endorsed her, and I'm asking everyone in Waukesha County of voting age to join me on April 1. We are going to have 2 other judges who will win an election. One, as you mentioned, is Scott Wagner, who is unopposed. And then the Branch 6 seat. Our viewers may not understand this because I get this question quite a bit. Well, why can't Brad Schimmel be on the ballot? Well, you can't be on the ballot in 2 separate positions at the same time. And so he took a really big step. And he said, I'm going to end my judicial career in Waukesha so that I can run for the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And this is a critical election. I mean, when I ran 2 years ago, it was a critical election. And I think we all can see as voters the fallout from that. You want a judge and you want a justice who's not going to say, I want the law to be what I want it to be or what the voters told me it should be. Justices and judges do not make the law, right? Legislators make the law. And that is a just separation of powers 101. And there's a very big difference between Judge Schimmel and his opponent, Susan Crawford, on their view of the law, the rule of law, and the role of a judge. You want someone who's going to be rogue and essentially be a super legislator? then I guess Susan Crawford should get your vote. You want someone who's going to respect the rule of law, who's going to bring, I think, some sanity back to that court and a conservative majority. Then Judge Schimmel is who you should vote for, and that's why I'm supporting him. I mean, it is critical. One thing that people don't often think about are the legislative maps. Well, who ultimately gets to approve of those maps? Well, that's the Wisconsin Supreme Court for Wisconsin. We have 6 congressional seats right now that typically sway 4 conservative, 2 liberal, so Republican, Democrat. This election is being fueled by outside money from the left because they want a liberal majority to continue so they can ensure that those maps, swing a different way. They want a gerrymander. And anyone who thinks otherwise is not paying attention. You look at some of the key votes in the House of Representatives, 2 votes away from switching from a conservative or Republican majority to a Democratic or liberal majority. The future of our country is really at stake, not just the future of Wisconsin. And so you're going to see a lot of outside money, frankly, from all over for both candidates. It is critical. I mean, things like Act 10, school choice, of course, the legislative maps. These are all things that, and abortion, right? That's what's fueling this. If our governor were a true leader, he would bring an end and let the people decide, right? It's not my view. It's not Hillary's view. It's not Sean's view on abortion. It's the people collectively. Put it to a referendum. Let the people decide, because what a good judge does is says, I'm going to honor the will of the people, not decide. Because if you have a majority, think about it, 4 of 7 is all you need to become a super legislative body. That's not what our founders meant with separation of powers and the judiciary. So I could go on and on and on. It's this important, everyone. Please, please vote, and please vote for Judge Brad Schimmel.
So sticking with Supreme Court, but kind of stepping away from the candidate by candidate issue stuff. Wisconsin is a swing state nationally on a lot of issues. We're very purple, and it's not because maybe we're hard right or hard left. I think just the political fight has made us purple. The campaign ads the money that being spent on campaign ads, it seems like just from, an observer's perspective, you can see the shift in judicial ads going much more toward a regular political office, not a judicial office. And so you can't turn on the TV right now without seeing a negative ad really against either candidate. You were a candidate for Supreme Court yourself. What is your take on just the political nature of just the ads, not necessarily the issues?
I think probably the last Supreme Court race where it was not this political might have been for Diane Sachs when she was on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And I think that was the Louis Butler race. And it's really unfortunate because great people with great intellects are not running for these types of positions like Supreme Court because they do not want to subject themselves or their families to the scrutiny and the rigors of a campaign that has become very politicized, very hostile, and just difficult. I remember talking with Brad when he was considering running, and he came to me because I think a lot of people were like, is she going to run again? And I really appreciate that he did that. And I know he too is a man of faith, and he really feels called to do this and willing to put his family and himself through the rigors and the scrutiny. The Supreme Court of the United States is who set the tone in the sense of there's case law that supports outside money in elections. And so we're not going to undo that. That's here to stay. I suppose you can say there's good things about it, there's bad things about it. What frustrates me about the advertising is, you see this huge push to law and order. Judge Schimmel, if he becomes, whoever becomes, right, the next Supreme Court justice, they're not in the trenches putting criminals behind bars, right? They're going to be reviewing things, that deal with things after the fact. Was there ineffective assistance of counsel? Was there a violation of the Confrontation Clause? Is there something going on with technology, with search warrants and things of that nature that we need some clarity on? And so it's a bit disingenuous, but I understand that's a winning recipe to elect a Supreme Court justice is being perceived as a law and order. So it's really important. Obviously, he has that strong background, and that makes a whole lot of sense, right? That prosecutor background, not only locally, DA, and then AG, and then his time on the bench. I mean, he has a phenomenal experience that will serve him well on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. But the politicization, I can't say that word very well, but it's unfortunate. But in some respects, right, you do get, you do see a truth about people as well. Other states, it's all partisan, right? And so we could spend hours, if not days, on the pros and cons of having partisan judicial elections or not, appointment versus election or not. I don't care. Either way you cut it, it's all political.
Yeah, someone's doing the appointing.
Right.
So what do you rate the chances of having a Waukesha County resident like Brad Schimmel on the state's highest court?
We have one already, right? That's Judge Hagedorn. So
second.
And prior to that, Justice Callow, obviously one of my heroes. And but it would be amazing. We need his experience. We need his determination. We need his intellect. We need his fidelity to the rule of law, and understanding his role as a justice, as someone who will honor the other branches of government. I mean, Waukesha County, we need to come out. We need to come out big for him in order for him to have a chance. You talk about us being purple as a state. I do agree. Part of it's the bruising, but part of it is, the blue areas in Wisconsin are concentrated to the east and to the west. The rest of the state is largely red, but those are high density population areas. And so we just need to get out the vote. I would say that for all of the elections that we have, the local elections for Judge Shaneborn, for Zach Witchow, we didn't get to that one, but that's who I'm supporting in that one. And then Judge Schimmel for justice. We really, really need to take these elections seriously. It's such low voter turnout. I forget all the percentages. I don't know if it's 10% or something, but think about it. Small numbers are going to determine the future of Waukesha County and whether we're a safe community or not, and for the state of Wisconsin and whether we're a safe and prosperous state or not. So get out and vote, everyone.
Well, April 1st, voters will have their say at the polls. So, Judge Dorow, thank you so much for sharing your incredible insight here on this bonus episode of GovCast. And thank you for listening to GovCast. We'll see you next time.